Welcome to Cards and Comics. This is my first live, so this will be a test. This is new for me. Now, this is the 2-year anniversary of my channel, so I decided to do something a little different. So hopefully, some folks come by. I know it's the All-Star game. I have really, really good timing that way. But I wanted to do it on my actual anniversary date. So, so the big thing I'm going to do today, hopefully if I get some folks on, is go through my PSA sub that I put in quite a while ago, actually. It was good to finally get it back, especially right before the National. And there's some pretty cool cards in there, and actually I think 2 101 highest graded cards ever for the card and the grade. So highest graded and the only one that exists. So hopefully, as we go on here, please, if you're, when you come on, and hopefully we get some folks on, let me know if you can hear me okay. This is like kind of the first time I've ever used this software by myself. I think it's going to work okay. I was on Personal Finance Dad, Dustin, and it worked pretty good. Hopefully if some folks come by, we might get a guest or two. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a 2-year anniversary, and obviously, I'm going to keep this video up as kind of my, PSA card reveal. And, but before we kind of get into that and to prolong the festivities a little bit, is to, look at, why, I kind of started the channel and, what, I want to, do with it in the future is one thing. So we'll start there, started the channel back in, pre-COVID, basically, to connect with people. So, hopefully people who, come on, to watch the channel are collectors, and that's really who I, want to appeal to. I'm not a dealer. I'm, full time. And so I'm just a collector who likes to share knowledge and talk with people about the hobby. And so as we get into, the video and I kind of talk about the channel a little bit, that part of it has been okay, successful. I look at things to check mark off is what have I been good at? I've been starting to get better at doing videos. Again, this is the first live stream I've done really since I started. So let me know if you can hear me okay. If you can't, then I'm just talking to empty space. It's fine. If you can hear me, let me know. But I think, I'm getting better at some of the things. Hey, Art Chemist, what's good? Hey, glad to have a comment. Thanks, guys. Great. I appreciate it. Yeah, so, I think I'm, getting some of this down a little bit. But, I always appreciate feedback. The one thing I will say before I get into the PSA reveal, which I'm going to start here in a minute, I got the 2 boxes right here. I'll start with box 1, which is kind of the shorter box. Is, when you go through my video, I'm not trying to, please don't think I'm trying to influence or pick, one grading company over the other. I've gone into some length onto why I use PSA, why I use SGC. I've used a lot of the grading companies, but it is what it is. So when we go into this reveal and go to some of the cards, I'll go into, the card itself, maybe why I bought it or what it is, or is it a collection, or, why I have the card. Is it a PC card? Is it something I'm going to sell? So here we go. Box 1, we're opening it up. Here's the PSA logo in. And I don't know how they're sorted. So again, it's a 20 card sub, and we'll get into it. And I'll talk about, again, this looks like there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in this sub. So I'm assuming there's 15 cards in the other sub. And we'll go walk through it. Again, I'm in the room of doom here. A little dark. Hopefully you guys can see okay. If not, I can put a little more light on. So the first card I'm going to talk about, and again, I've got the pop reports pulled up here on my phone. So when I pull the card out, I will go through sort of the pop report, and kind of a little bit about the card itself, and we'll go from there. So the first card is, is a 2019 Upper Deck Marvel Premiere. This is the Moon Knight Achievement card. Make sure you can see it. There you go. It's a PSA 8. And let's see if I get a little light on here. There we go. So it's a PSA 8. And again, it's the achievement. So when I was going through, trying to come up with the cards I was wanting to submit, I thought the achievement cards were something that, because I have a lot of Marvel cards. If you go through my past videos, I just have a ton of them because I collected I've opened a lot of Marvel Premiere and 17 Ultra Spider-Man off ePack. So this card itself from a Pop Report, it is a Pop 1 with 0 pop higher. So this is a Pop 1. There are no 9s, no 10s in this card. So it's only an 8, but if you think about it, it's a Pop 1. Not 20 Griffys. No, I wish there was. Hey, thanks, New York Yanks fan, for coming by. I really appreciate it. You were my first supporter on my channel, and I really have always appreciated your support, and always the fact that I've always thought like how you collected was one of the, you just were so focused and kind of bought the things I should have bought back in the day. Like every time I see one of your videos, I'm like, I should have bought that. What was I thinking? Buying Marvel Premiere cards or whatever. All right, card number 2. Again, it looks like they group the cards in a way that basically is based on the kind of card it is. So that is a little interesting because, that's not the order I submitted them in. So they obviously broke up the cards into sections here. So this is a card I got in Indianapolis when I was at the card show there. I bought it from a F1 and a Marvel guy there. So this is Deadpool 2017 Ultra Red. So this is the PMG. It's a 7. So not a great grade there. It's a really pretty card though. If you look at the red, I like it's a little bit of a color match. I've never actually got the Deadpool other than just the base bronze. So I never got lucky on Deadpool on 2017 Ultra. So I wanted just to have like a, one really cool Deadpool card to go with my Spider-Man cards. From a pop count, this one is going to be a little higher, I'm assuming. So this is a Pop 8 with 10 higher. So this is not really unique or rare from a card perspective, but it's a nice looking card. Pretty good, again, it's a color match, but it's definitely one that I was a little hoping for an 8 for. But again, those PMGs are just really tough. I mean, anyone who's graded Marvel cards knows that the PMGs are just really, really tough. So we're starting out with Marvel. It looks like they lumped all the Marvel cards together. So sorry for anyone that was looking for the Griffys and the vintage cards. They're going to be later in the video. Sorry about that. So the next one is actually a really cool card too. For me perspective, this is a card I had a long time. Again, it's a Marvel Premiere Achievements card. I did Moon Knight, and this one is, again, the Deadpool. There we go. It is a Mint 9. There we go. So Mint 9 Deadpool. I think it's, from a, hard to get perspective. Hey Ryan, what's up, man? This is a really tough card. So it is a Pop 1, and it's the highest in the grade. So this is the highest graded Deadpool achievements card here. So the Moon Knight and the Deadpool are both, highest graded, because again, the achievement cards, the way they worked back in the day was back in 2019, back in the day, you had the achievements were weird for that set. It was, you had to get like, I think the card set was only like 50 cards, or it's hard to remember, but you had to get like 5 cards, like cards 1 through 5, and that unlocked an achievement card, or it was like 1 through 10. So you had to get so many cards in a row, and then you got the achievement. So I think I got 3 of the 4 I got, I don't think I got the Old Man Wolverine. I think there was an Old Man Logan in that card. And that set, I got the X-23, the Moon Knight, and the Deadpool. I didn't get the Logan or the X or the Wolverine card. So I graded 2 of the 3, and again, they're the highest, but they're really hard to get because you remember Marvel Premiere, you only got one base card in the like $300 or $400 pack. So you literally had to open like 5 to 10 packs to get anywhere close to one of those. So you had to trade, and it was tough. It was, I don't think there's going to be a ton of those ever exist or graded, which is, I don't know if they're going to be worth anything, but they're at least going to be somewhat rare. Next up in the order of cards here is a card that I kind of convinced myself to grade just because I thought it would grade high, and obviously I was wrong. A lot, like I've been a lot of times. Now this card is really cool. It is number 21 of 28, or sorry, it's 21 of 28, and it's a PSA 8. It's the Spider Girl Fleur Ultra 2017 EX Century Then. So again, these are really pretty cards. They're acetate, they're really, I think, nice cards. And again, you can maybe see on the back, it is numbered 21 of 28. And so I looked to see how many of this card has been graded, because again, there's only 28, and it's a pop 2 with 2 higher. So there's been 4 of these cards graded by PSA. So, this is kind of like the Marvel stuff. So I got it out of the way early. I have so much Marvel stuff. It's just insane. I know some folks in the history of the channel, the lore of the channel, I did a trade or sold some stuff to Steve, Flippin' Steve. That was literally like a small, very small portion of my Marvel card collection. I'm just starting to get some of it graded. And I'm going to take some of it to the National. I don't know how much, the National is going to be. I'm not going to take, I usually take like boxes and boxes of cards and I would sell. I don't know how I'm going to treat the National this year as far as cards. I might take some, bigger cards with me this year, and less small cards, but it appears like, people are wanting those $100, $200 cards, and I have quite a few of those. So I might, take those with me. So that's still to be determined, but, still looking at it, in terms of, how I'm going to approach what I'm going to take. I'm obviously going to, bring a sub with me. I'm going to do an 18, the $18 20 card minimum sub. I'm going to do a lot of cards that way too. So, I might do 30 or 40 cards through that way. All right, next up is the first Griffey card. And this is a card that I kind of forgot I had. But I'm really glad I submitted it, because it's not a 1-of-1, but it's a pretty good grade. It's a really cool card, and it falls into the Griffey black hole because it happens to be a 2011 card. It is the Flair EX 2001 Flair EX. So this is the essential. So there's, the essential credentials. So this is the essential credentials now. So this is, again, some more light on it, a little easier to see. So to me, this is like, one of those Griffey cards that, you can see the grade. It's a mint 9. And it is numbered out of 299. So I don't know if you can see the back, if you can see the grade, or there it is. There we go. Right angle, 299. So, this is definitely not one of those Griffey cards that people are think of too much, because he's a red, right? The red stuff just doesn't, it's not as popular. Hey man, hey Vintage Cards, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, like it's really cool to see folks on here. I'm really happy. But this goes, and Dwayne's right, like this card falls into that trap where people just ignore Griffey as a red. And there's a lot of cool cards as a red. And I had one of my videos where I talked about, if you really want to get some value into some 90s sports cards, look for some really cool cards of Griffey, in early 2000s as a red. And there's so many cool cards. I mean, there are that I would love to have, just because I think there is, eventually people are going to want all the Griffey cards. They're not just going to want his Mariner cards. but it's like, it's like Jordan, right? If it's in a Wizards uniform, it's like 1/3 the value. So I get that. But I do feel like essential credentials and like kind of like the high end insert sets, even as a red. This is from when he played, so it's still really cool. And I think an essential credentials is still a really, really cool card. So we're gonna go in a box here. This is 15 other cards. So I take the glare off my face here. So 15 more cards. Ugh. And PSA's boxes have really changed. I've been so long since I've graded with them. I'm used to the other boxes that open up like a, instead of like a clamshell, they open up the other way. These boxes are different for me. So we'll see here where we start. We're going to start with hockey. So I'm just loving, you guys are loving this. So I'm going to start with hockey. Now, you never hardly see hockey on my channel, but again, I do a lot of EPAC. So the first one up is from a value standpoint, this is going to be one of the most expensive cards that I show tonight. I know it sounds weird, but if you're into hockey and kind of understand what this card is, you'll understand that it's super rare. And I believe it is one of the 101 highest grades cards that are out there. Nope, it's a pop 2. So there's 2 of these in existence. But it is the 2018 Upper Deck Young Gun Elias Peterson Speckled Rainbow Foil. And so I'll try to get in the light, do it some justice. The speckled rainbow foils are incredibly tough to get. You had to basically take, and again, it's a PSA 10. So this card was basically something that you had to basically get. I believe you had to get 5 young guns to get a silver, and then you had to get either 3 or 5 silver young guns to make a speckled. So it was either 15 or 25 young guns. I forget what it changed. At some point it changed from like 5 to 3. So, well, I think this is back when it was still 5. So, hey Ziggy, how's it going? Yeah, so this is a card that I know, if you're a baseball guy, you don't really understand. It's super rare. There's a pop 2 on it. Peterson is a good player. He is, going to really, his cards are expensive. Look at his just base Young Gun PSA 10s. Get an idea. This is like 100x kind of multiplier for that card. So it's like, this is like a $2,000 to $4,000 card. I would assume this is what this card would bring. Super rare. And I had one again. I was on eBay opening lots of Upper Deck Young Guns, and I ended up getting enough to create that speckled card. And all right, next up is a Griffey card. Now, this is the card that I was really, of the grades I got, this is the one that I'm really happy with because I was a little worried about it. This is a pop 9, 2 higher, and it is the Flair Brilliance Griffey Gold PSA 9. So there's, and again, this card is numbered. You can see that it's numbered out of 99. And for a lot of people, this card is a pretty big card for a lot of folks. In the Griffey world, there's a version of this card that looks refractory. I forget, it's like platinum gold, and they're numbered out, I think, 25. So this card, you go opposite here. This card is I'm trying to get the light to hit it just right. Let me see if I can, so you can see the card itself. This card's a big card. So in the Griffey world, the thing you got to understand is once you get down to 100 or below in terms of numbering from the 90s in a Mariners uniform, the prices go insane. So, and there's a lot of inserts numbered out of 100 or below. Once you hit that number with some of these early Griffey insert cards, the value of these cards just goes nuts. So this is one of the ones that I picked up, off eBay back probably 2019 time period, before things got really nuts with Griffey. But this card is super tough. It's foil. It's got a lot of chances to hurt the edges. So, you can look at it. It's a pretty clean card. The reason I was worried about it is because there was one little part up here in this corner. I don't know if you can see it, but where the edge, where it looks like the plastic film or something didn't go all the way to the edge. So I was a little worried that that would cause the card not to grade a 9. So this is the one that I'm just like really, really happy with because, again, I probably couldn't afford this card today. Honestly, if I were to buy it today, based on what I've seen these cards go for recently, these really high end cards of Griffey right now, they're really nuts. So, next up is one of my big disappointments. So, hopefully you saw saw the video I did on my vintage SGC and CSG crossovers. So here's the first crossover card, and this is the big one. This is the one that I really disagreed with, just because I thought this card was, of all the cards I submitted vintage wise, was the best in the condition, for the grade. And this was the um, early win 49 Bowman. So the card is just super nice. And so I looked through and tried to figure out, what they were seeing on this card. It was an SGC 86 and it came back a PSA 6. And what what I'm kind of assuming here is that angle cut, or not well, it's diamond cut, for better or worse, or the image itself is angled. It's hard to explain because the card itself isn't like trapezoidal, which sometimes you can get with these really poor miscuts. Really, it is just that the photo's off center from the borders, and so it gives it that diamond appearance. And so I think what they did was, instead of saying like it's a 80C, they said it was a 6. I think this card's a 7. I'll try to put it up as close as I can with the light. I think the card is a 7 all day long. I really don't like this grade. I've had a few folks talk about it, with me. I mean, to me, I think the card, and I'll show you the back. There's nothing wrong with the back. There's no creases. I looked through it. There's no big gum stain. There's, nothing really wrong with the back. It's got a little corner wear damage to it, but the card is really bright colors. I think they thought it was an 8.0C and they just gave it a straight 6. Because I believe I did mark no qualifiers on my order, which I normally do. So it's a tough one, man. I mean, I lost a lot of money on that card. If it would have graded just a straight 7, I think I looked at it, it was like a $400 loss in value. So, next up is a card that was an SGC 88. It came back a PSA 7, and that is a 69 Pete Rose. So there you go. It's a 7. I mean, I understand this grade. I don't mind like one grade. You're gonna lose one grade once in a while. You're gonna lose some grades, when you cross over to PSA. And I guarantee you'll lose grades when you cross over to SGC as well, from PSA. I think both companies sometimes grade differently, and so you're not always going to get the same grade. But this is one of those cards that I understand it. It's a nice card. It was, to me, it was in between the 7 and 8. I thought it was a solid card, and I thought it was going to get an 8. So a little disappointed. Vintage cards, yeah, on the registry, I think I have the best chance on that early win by showing it to someone in person. I think selling it on eBay or something like that just wouldn't do it justice. I think when someone sees the quality of that card, people will want, I think a registry guy, someone looking for a really good value on an early win rookie card, either a Cleveland collector or whatever, Hall of Fame rookie collector that wants their collection to be really nice, might pay a little bit more to have one that's, that nice. So I feel like, it's definitely one of those cards that I got a little upset with when I saw the grade, for sure. Moving on to more vintage. Here is I was wrong. We have more Marvel cards coming, so if you're not into the Marvel, but we'll do the vintage first. So this is the card again that it was a CSG. So I tried my hand at CSG grading, and I had one success and one massive failure. So the massive failure was the 7.5 CSG 72 Hank Aaron that went from a CSG 7.5 to a PSA 6. And the PSA 6 100% deserved. I don't know if you can see it on the corner here, but there is corner damage, massive corner damage on that upper right corner. I don't know if I can get in the light, but you can kind of see it right there. See that crease right there in that card, that corner? That's a crease. That line right there, that's a crease. Mm. I kind of think it's lucky to get a 6. I think all the other attributes of the card are beautiful. It's got great color. It looks packed fresh in a lot of ways, so that helped it. But man, it's got a crease in that upper right corner. There's no way that card should have got anywhere close to a 6. Yeah, I do when I'm doing modern cards. So when I do a lot of vintage cards, I don't really wear gloves or wipe the cards because, in all honesty, like for vintage cards, it's a little different. There's gloss factor. So if the card has wax on it, like wax dust, wax, like, so if you've got wax on the front of the card, you can use like a nylon stocking just to wipe the wax off. It'll just come off, but you'll remove part of the glossiness of the card. And PSA can see when you've treated the top of the card and wipe things off sometimes. So if I've got a massive fingerprint or something, I will wipe it off using, a lint-free cloth. But in general, for vintage cards, I don't, because you're not really going to have massive fingerprints or damage the card. Now, for Bowman Chrome cards, these modern cards, yeah, you should always wipe them and just don't touch the front of the cards. Just don't touch them. I mean, you got to handle them really close. If you do touch them, you got to wipe them. You can wear gloves. That's a good point. But modern cards, definitely, especially Chrome cards, things with shiny fronts, you should be wearing gloves or at least wiping those cards down for sure. So next up is sort of my favorite card from the whole sub. It was the card that, I thought about grading for a long time, and just didn't know how to do it. It's a Pop 16, which actually kind of surprised me how big it is. It's a PSA 10, but it's a card I bought, and I wish I could go back to the video when I bought the card, because in the video when I showed it off, it's in one of those massive like 4 screw holders you get from the 90s. And when I saw it in the auction, I really think that hurt the guy in the auction, because the card, sometimes people do that to make the cards look real, but when they're really fake, or they don't look like they're a modern collector that has that card. It looks like something that's staged to look like it's old. But it's a real card, and I got it graded, and it came back a 10. It is the 98 SB Signature Griffey Auto, PSA 10. And there you go. Yeah, that, and it's a beautiful auto. I'm trying to get as close so you can see the auto. The auto is super nice. So I didn't want to have a mixed sub, so I just got the card graded because this is a PC card for me. This definitely is something that I'm keeping. 90s Griffey autos on card are just special. This card is, along with the Legends auto, to me is the Alpha and Omega Griffey autos from that time period. The other auto I have that I think is, I'll show it to you because I love it so much. It's on my back display here. So I got this graded this year. So this is a card I got graded this year with SGC because I was just trying out SGC grading. And this is the retro Griffey from, I believe, 98 as well. So yeah, 98. I don't know if Griffey has a 97 or 96 auto. I think 98 is his first auto that's pack pulled. I'm not sure that he has a 97. He might have 197 that Upper Deck did, but as far as massive, 98 was really when the pack pulled autos really became popular. So this retro Griffey is a super short print. This is like one of my favorite, cards of all time. Again, it's PC, so I was just trying out the, back or PSA was just unavailable. You couldn't grade at all. I want to get it graded, and it's got a grade of 8.5 for the card and a 10 for the auto. So the auto is a 10, which is what I think is the most important part of the card is the auto, because this card can have really bad autos. But the card I just got graded, that auto is super nice. And again, I think this just goes sometimes on eBay, you'll see a card and you're like, it's one of those stupid four screw holders that it's going to be damaged. That's a lot of people think is that's going to damage the card. And I was just lucky. It came out of that 4 screw holder and graded a 10. You know, I think that's just one of those things that is real lucky. It's a pop 16. That's the part that kind of surprised me, is how many 10s are out there. So obviously the card isn't that hard to grade. Yeah, Art Chemist. Yeah, 93 Griffeys. You know, if you have finest cards right now, 93 finest, just the base card, graded PSA 10s, bringing good money, not just the refractor. So that's a one of those cards that if you just have the base card of 93, it's a really cool card. Next up on the Griffey train again, and again Griffey is what I PC. So this is one that, you know, I debated on how to grade this card. So this is a pop 1 with a pop with 5 higher. It's a 1999 finest gold refractor, Griffey finest. There you go. It graded a PSA 8. So the debate I had on this card was, should I peel the protector? Because I think 1,000% the reason why this card got an 8 is because, you know, the protector keeps the card from getting scratched, but the protector itself gets scratched. Have you ever seen these cards? They kind of have like a dull appearance, and you'll see like where the protector, when it went through the machines, gets kind of, you know, scratched up and dulled. And I'll show you the refractory goodness of the gold. Now, again, this card is numbered out of 100. There you go. So it falls into that, you know, Griffey 90s Mariner uniform, number to 100 or below. So again, it's a pop 1, so it's only 8, and there's 5 higher. So it's still a really rare card. And again, this is cool because it has that cool die cut. So, you know, I really like, you know, this is one of those cards that I think now, if it came up for sale, you know, I think even a PSA 8 would do really, really well, because again, it's that 100 number out of 100. And again, you know, this card is 98 out of 100. So there you go. This is definitely one of the ones that I was a little nervous just because of that protector on it. I didn't know if that was going to really knock that grade down. And 8s, I think it's okay. You know, I mean, it's a PC card. If it was peeled, I guarantee that card would bring something a lot higher than an 8. Because otherwise, it's really nice. It's just a little faded on that, or a little scratched up on that that protector. Next up is another PC card. So this card is pretty cool. I'm looking at the pop report. So it's a pop 1 in this grade, 21 higher. Yeah, finish cards. You know, they grade the surface of the peel, and it's kind of crazy. That is, and so a lot of these old time refractors, people will debate, should I peel it or should I not? Because in general, if you look at the pop reports of unpeeled to peel cards, the peeled cards generally grade like 1 point higher on average than the unpeeled. And to me, that's why a lot of people peel the cards, because they're going to get a higher grade, because the surface is kind of pristine and untouched. So yeah, it is kind of silly. Next up is a 72. A T206 Chief Bender Old Millback. It's a 2.5. So I'm a Chief Bender collector, you know, from my vintage days. Again, you know, this is the old Millback, and I'll show the old Millback. There you go. There we go. There we go. Get the light properly. There you go. Old Millback. It's a rare back, but it's not the rarest of backs, but it's still cool. And there we go. Chief Bender, 2.5. You know, again, with the rarity of the back, you know, the fact that, you know, if you're a T206 collector, you're going to get sorry about that. You're going to get a lot of if you're going to get all the backs, you better be used to getting some of those in authentic and ones, because some of those backs, like American Beauties, are so rare that unless you can afford like thousands of dollars for a PSA 3, getting a one or an authentic is probably the way to go for some of those. But yeah, so again, PC card, but I haven't added a chief bender in a long time, and that that was a really really fun for me to finally get a new bender in my collection. It's just one of those things I haven't paid as much attention to as my chief bender collection. And I definitely, when I go to the national, I'm going to be looking to add at least one new bender card that I haven't had before. So and that's the cool thing, is like, I'm pretty sure chief bender isn't hot at the national. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to find a few benders that I don't have, and maybe I can work a deal for one of them. So next up is the actual, probably the best vintage card that came in this whole sub. It's a Pop 13 with 18 higher. And so literally it's one of 31 cards graded this high or higher. And again, it's a really tough card to grade. I've looked for this card a long time, and I finally got one. It came in an SGC 7. Hey, Leveron, how are you? It came in an SGC 7, and it crossed over directly as a PSA 7. There you go. It's a 71 O-Pee-Chee Pete Rose. So I'm trying to get it in the light here so it doesn't. Let me see here. So yeah. So there we go. It's a PSA 7. 71 O-Pee-Chee. And anyone who kind of, and I did that whole video on O-Pee-Chee. 71 O-Pee-Chees are just really tough. And if you look at O-Pee-Chees themselves, I think I came up with the fact that they're like, basically they're like printed at like 18% the rate of Topps cards. So for every 82 Topps cards, there's like 18 O-Pee-Chee cards. It's kind of like that. Hey, thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it. And cards like this to me are, like, for me, like are hard. I just picked up the 71 O-Pee-Chee Nolan Ryan 8 from my buddy Russ in Indianapolis. I've never seen this card for sale like at a national or any sort of big card show. It's like a freaking ghost. And so I cross it over. It's a big. I mean, if this came back a 6, it really would have hurt the value, because again, they don't exist in grade 7 and above. So, and again, for anyone who knows, the O-Pee-Chee back looks really different than the Topps back. So that's the O-Pee-Chee back. It's that really cool yellow back. So, but yeah, and it is a very nice card. You can see it's centered okay. Edges are nice. It's got a little bit of a peachy rough cut, but it's a really nice card. So, if you got an SGC 7 Rose, that's a freaking awesome card, man. Mike, that, any 71s right now, in my opinion, and 7 and above are just, they're getting so hard to get. I mean, PSA is really, really tough on 71s right now. And so, SGC, I mean, I love SGC, for a lot of cards. I mean, I have a lot of SGC cards. I'll show you one right now, just to prove it. Sorry. I'm probably never going to get this card graded by PSA just because I don't think it needs it. But, here is a 56 Jackie Robinson 88. Right. That card looks amazing in that holder. I think it's an 8 all day. I'm never going to sell it because it's just freaking such a nice card. But that is, just a really sweet card. You can see the white back. I think what I paid for is right here. There we go, guys. $2,000. That's what I paid for at a card show for it back in the day. There you go. I don't know what's worth today. I haven't even looked it up. I think it's worth a little bit more than $2,000 now. That's just my guess. But, this card is super nice. It is a great SGC 88. You can kind of see the corners on it. the white. You know, it's just yeah, it's just a nice card. And that is, you know, and like I said, I'm never going to get this crossed over because I don't think it needs to be crossed over. I think anyone who looks at that card is going to say that's an 8 all day, you know, and that's why, you know, I'll probably never get that card crossed. It's just such a nice card. The 71 Nolan Ryan, yeah, that O-Pee-Chee I got, I paid exactly VCP for it when I bought it. So you did awesome on that, Jackie Robinson. When did you get the Jackie Robinson, Mike? What year? Because that's a great. So I went to the national. I went to the national in 2018. My only goal was a 52 Jackie, and I didn't get one. There was a few out there. I didn't like the condition. The prices were super high, but I was more about, you know, centering and what it looked like. And I just wish I'd have pulled the trigger on one of them because the card I got at that show, I'll show you the card I got. Oh, sorry. So the two cards I got at that show, instead of getting the Jackie Robinson, were still pretty good. One of them was this PSA 4 Babe Ruth. There we go. The other card I got was this 6.5 53 Mantle. So I mean, you know, obviously these are really, really great cards. So I can't really cry my beer too much, but I definitely was looking for the 52 Jackie, and that, yeah, 17. That's perfect. Like that's when I should have bought one. Like in where's New York Yank fan? I'm sure he bought one in like 16 and paid like half of what we paid. You know, because you know, because that's how he does things. Like every time I see a video, he's like, "Yeah, I bought this in like 14 or 15, paid like $1,000 for it, and now it's worth like 10." You know, the guy bought everything at the right time. But yeah, like, you know, this card here, you know, again, I did a video about you know, where I talked about getting deals at the National. This is the card I was talking about, that 53 Mantle. I got this from a guy who did only modern rookie card stuff, and he got this in a trade, and I was able to get a great deal on it. You know, and it's a really good card. So I was really happy. And then this card came from a dealer who was having a bad week at the show. He hadn't sold much, and I was able to pick it up, and I paid over book for it. I did pay at the time about $1,000 more than VCP for that Ruth. I think I paid $6,500 for this Ruth back in 18. So, and it was worth about $5, I think, around the time, $5 or $5.50 at the time. So, next card in the sub review. So this is a PSA 8 72 Mays. And the cool thing about this card is it was in a CSG 8 holder and it crossed straight over. So crossed over straight to an 8. You know, try to get it in there so it doesn't glare too much. But there you go. It is a nice card. When I did my pre-screen and when I talked about my sub, I said this card is nice. You know, so CSG, this is a nice card. It should have been an 8. You know, it was graded properly by both companies, CSG and PSA. But, you know, with CSG, you know, that 6.5 on that, or that 6 on that Aaron, that card never should have been a 7.5. So I don't know what they missed or how they missed it, but that was a tough one. And again, I have this card multiple times. In fact, I've got one just sitting right here. Hold on. Where's it at? Thought I had one just, there it is. Sorry. Can't see. Sorry about that. So I've got one right here in an 8.5. So 8.5. So I'm going to take one of them with me to, you know, oh, hey, Mike. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you missed it. I pop every card. I do not send anything in the holder for crossover. I pop every one. Yeah, I've learned my lesson a long time ago. I cannot send anything in that way. Dwayne, I do go to the Chicago shows. In fact, I've been to a lot of sports fest in my life, and my buddies, you know, I used to set up at shows in Indiana. That's where they go every time, and so I'm hoping to go to one pretty soon. to hang out with my friends, because that's where a lot of my card guys are from. And you know so like the Midwest Monster, that show, the Midwest Monster, the guy who promotes that show is the dealer or the promoter I would set up with every month in Indianapolis. Jeff, he's a really nice guy. He's my buddy. And yeah, hey Dwayne, if you're where are you located? Like I said, I live close to Indianapolis, and I go back there probably 4 or 5 times a year, to because my wife's family is in Indiana. So that's where I go to when, like, my kids are, like, my daughter's there right now with my wife. They're visiting grandparents. So I go to Indiana all the time and go, oh, Milwaukee. Okay. A little bit different way, but every time I go back, I try to hit Chicago because we try to time a show or something. So I'm in Chicago quite a bit. If you go to next time I go down there, if you want to come to either the Indianapolis show, the Midwest Monster, or the Sports Fest, and if I'm there, I'll let you know, because I do those things quite often because, I am basically from Indiana, even though I grew up in Oklahoma. So I guess I'm no longer like my home state. I'm like Oklahoma, but, I've lived in Indiana for so long. I can consider that, where I'm from now. Yeah. The CMG maze is tough to find centered, the 8.5 I've got, which is right here, is very nicely centered. If I see if you can see it there. It is a very nicely centered card. So I do like the one I got, the 8.5. The next card in the sub was the other disappointment. So this is the Ted Simmons rookie card. It was a 7.5 SGC. Came back a 6. And again, this is the one that I did see that it had a few like white tips on the corner and a little off center. So I don't know if you can see the little bit of white on that tip there. But man, a 6 on this card is tough. You can see the card is like super glossy. Just a really nice card. As a 6, this card is worth not much at all, honestly. And I really don't think this card deserves a 6. I think SGC was closer in the grade, but PSA just hates 71s. I've got to learn my lesson. I've submitted probably 2071 cards to SGC to PSA that were SGC, and only probably about 5 of the 20 either crossed over or got bumped. The rest of them lost grades. So that's a really poor percentage for me. I got to learn my lesson to quit popping 71 SGC cards, because how they grade them and how PSA grade them they're different. But this is a really nice card. And again, someone who's Hall of Fame rookie collecting is going to get a great card as a 6. I don't know if I'm going to resub some of these cards. I really am pissed off about the early win, actually. That's the one I might send that back to SGC. I do think they graded it properly, and I think PSA gave it, because of that strange angle cut, just hammered it. This is the last 71 now. I'll do this again, and I think this is why I do a lot when I go to nationals. So in 2018, when I was there with my dad, and I said, I want a 71 Munson, and I do have a 71 Munson, this SGC 88 that's never going to I'm not going to resub to PSA for sure. If I resub it, it's going to be back with SGC, because I think they graded it more closely the first time. I was looking for and so I got an SGC 88 of this card now, and I'm probably never going to sub that one to PSA, because I just feel like that card is nice, just like the Jackie. But it is a 71 Thurman Munson, and they gave it a 6. So let's just see. It's got a little print dot there. It's a little off center, but it's got really nice corners, really nice gloss. It's a nice card. It's a nice 6. A little closer here. You can see it. Nothing major wrong with this card. Again, they're just really tough on 71s. It's just, it's tough. Tough to get a card like this through them, because they know this card is worth so much money, even as a 7. They're just really rough on it. So the way I got this card is like, I made a game. So I was at the National. I said, look, I'm at the National. I want a 71 Thurman. I can't find one. So let's try to find a raw one and get it graded. And so me and my dad just went to table to table to table looking for raw 71 Munsons. One dealer had a pile of them. And it wasn't Levi 707. It was just some dude. Yeah. Mike, yeah. That is definitely a possibility if this card got in someone else's hands. And so he had a pile of 71 Munsons, and we just went through and picked the best one. It was $60 raw. So what I paid for this card. And me and my dad both agreed this is between a 6 and a 7. We were hoping for a 7. It came back a 6. So it was close to what I thought it might get. Again, but the challenge here, and I'm sure you all do this, and this is why it always upsets people, is you go on eBay and you'll see a 71 Munson 7 or 8 with tons of damage, white corners, white edges, and you're like, I got a 6 on this card that's got barely white showing on one of the corners, and it's a little off center because they're all off center due to the where it was cut on the sheet. You give me a 6, and this guy over here has got this 7 or 8 that's just completely damaged. It has like white on 3 of the 4 corners or one edge. It's like, well, that's why people just get a little frustrated with grading, because that's where you can obviously see the cards don't look the same. One looks a lot better than the other, and that does happen. PSA will give you that idea of eye appeal, a technical grade. Like, well, if you add it all up, you had one damage here and then something on the back and whatever, and now it's a 6. A lot of times, that doesn't hold water, because again, when you resub and do that game and you get a higher grade, it kind of makes you go like, well, it was just the grader, that day. It wasn't nothing to do with the card. So getting into just the last bit of the Marvel or modern cards, Cale Makar, Young Guns, Canvas Rookie, PSA 10. Not a rare card. This card sells around $500 at this grade right now. Makar, is hot right now. They just won, Stanley Cup. I've got about 5 or 10 good Makar cards. So I'm just going to take these to the National for trade night or just to sell, or, I got these on ePack again. So the Makar is just another card I had. I had a silver Makar Young Guns that graded SGC 10, and it didn't really sell too much. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, right now, Young Guns, Makar is hot. Just like Josh Allen in football. I have a lot of Josh Allen cards. I do stack some cards up if I think they're going to be hot at the National, to try to go there and sell them or trade them, because the National is one of these shows that always there's somebody hot at that time, like Luis Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Josh Allen. Those guys will be hot at the show, and it's like an infection. Every dealer starts to want just 2 or 3 players, and then it's like you go to the dealer and they're like, hey, do you want to trade? Like, do you have any Juan Soto? Do you have any Luis Rodriguez? Do you have any Josh Allen? They'll name like the same 6 to 10 players, and if you don't have one of them, it's like, well, that's all I'm looking for, and it kind of bums you out, because you might have some really nice cards, and they're only looking because that's what's hot at the show and what everyone's looking for, and they want to have on their table the cards that draw people into their table, and they want those hot cards. So, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just trying to do my thing, and I want to show people, the cards I have, and just what I'm trying to do from a hobby perspective, and I'm hoping people want to come to the show, the National, and I meet a few folks, do some trading. The good thing about the National too is these trade nights are great, because no, I'm not setting up. I'm going to be there just as a collector this time around, but I will have a lot of trade stuff. I am going to bring some pretty big cards for trading, and I'm going to have some stuff that's, I think, is going to be hot at the show. I just mentioned Makar, Josh Allen. I'm going to try to carry some stuff that people will want. I will have a lot of vintage. So I kind of made fun of that in one of my videos, where I go to shows carrying vintage, and I'll be like the only one of 10 dudes in a room that has vintage cards, because people either keep the vintage cards, which is smart, which is probably should do, But I do have a lot of duplicates. I just showed you I have a 72 Maze duplicate. I have a lot of duplicates, so I'm going to bring my dupes. I'm going to bring some of the cards I want to trade, and I want to build up. I'm hoping to do one of three things. I'm hoping to either get a 55 Willie Mays PSA 8, upgrade my 55 Clemente rookie from a 7 to a 7.5 or an 8. I mean, that's kind of silly, but that's kind of what I want to do. Or I want to get another Jackie Robinson card. So I have the 49 Bowman, I have the 56 tops, I have the 55 tops. So I want to get either the 53 or 54 tops Jackie Robinson. So those are some of the goals I have, but you got to be open to what's there and kind of keep your eyes open. But those are cards I'm going to be looking for. I want some more Jackie Robinson cards. I want a 50s Willie Mays card, and we'll go from there. But I do have a lot of stuff to trade and a lot of stuff to bring with me, modern and vintage. So hopefully that good mix of cards will allow me to make some deals, sell some cards. I just got an Otani. So my last PSA submission, I got a Sapphire Otani PSA 10 rookie card. I bought it raw at the Albany show, and it came back at 10. Modern baseball PC wise, yeah, I really was doing a few cards, so I'm kind of dumb, about modern stuff. I have Tatis cards, Soto cards. I have like cards of them. I usually get one or two autos and have enough cards of them. So when I go to card shows and I do stuff as a dealer sometimes to have them available and have them out. I have Acuna, so I do, but I don't have a huge, like 100 cards of them. I have like 5 or 10. But then I'll do something like I have a ton of Paul Goldschmidt because I was like super collecting Goldschmidt for a while, just because I thought his cards were undervalued. So I've got this stack of Goldschmidt cards, and maybe it's the time to get rid of them. Yeah, the 54 Jackie is one of the things I really, really would love to have. 53 and 54, I'm a realist, okay? The 52 tops Jackie right now is probably, I don't know if there's going to even be one in the show that's even worth trying to buy because they're going to have it so priced high. But if there's one that's reasonable, it's very similar. So when I went to the show in Indianapolis and I picked up the 49 Bowman, I'll pull that card out. So when I got this card, I wasn't looking for it. So I got the 49 Bowman Jackie, and it's a 5, and you kind of see it. It's a super nice 5. Like that card, it's a killer 5. Okay. And so when I went there, I wasn't looking for a Jackie. I didn't even expect it, at an Indianapolis local show. And a kid had it for the most part. It's like a guy who was a young dude who was one of these kind of hustler dealers. And my gosh, it took us like 2 hours to do the deal. He wouldn't give me a price. At one point, he said, "I'm not going to sell it." He tried to pull it back after he gave me a price, and he questioned the card. It was just a process. It just took forever. Finally, I mean, I way overpaid. I mean, I paid probably $1,500 or $2,000 over, what it should have sold for, but it was so nice. I mean, I was just like, I was in love with the card. The cards I was giving up were duplicates. They were like Josh Allen cards. I mean, they're cards I could replace. So I was like, I got to do this deal, and I ended up getting it done. And I was super stoked to get this Jackie. So obviously, if there's a guy with a 52 Jackie at the show willing to trade, do something, cash or whatever, and it's reasonable, I'll go for it. Whether or not it actually happens, you can't ever predict those things. Next up, so the last 2 cards I'll go through real quick because they're Marvel cards, but one of them is cool. If it's probably one that I'll talk to Flip and Steve about because I know he's a big fan of Doctor Strange. But it is a Pop 2. It's the Doctor Strange Jambalaya. It's numbered. Sorry, it's not numbered, but it's the highest graded. It's a Pop 2. Only 2 9s, no 10s. So again, cool card. Cool card, and again, tons of Marvel cards. And then the last card here is the 2013, so the OG Jambalaya Human Torch. And it's an 8. It's very common grade. They're really tough grades. So I think this card I'll bring with me because it's 2013 Jambalayas are still tough. So yeah, no doubles. I agree, man. I feel like, the doubles and stuff, I get doubles if I get a good deal, but that's about it. I do not I do not want to have 20 of one card. Even my Clemente and Pirate collection, I don't try to get tons of doubles. It's not, I don't try to like have 20 of the same card. I just feel like when you need so many cards for your collection having stacking cards up of the same player, same card just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, Mike, I understand, man. Like I mentioned on that 33 Ruth, I paid more than it's worth at the time. I paid $6,500 for that card. And I felt like it was still a great card. And it was worth the money. And, now it's worth a lot more. And I want to say, like, I knew that card was going to go from $6,500 to whatever it is now, 2,000 or 20,000 or whatever. That's totally not what I'm saying. I paid $6,500 for that card because I thought it was really nice for that grade, and I wasn't going to find one that much better. And if I didn't get it now, when I had the money and the cards and everything lined up, I had to do the deal then. So that was the reason I picked up that card. It wasn't because I thought, oh, this card's going to go to 20,000. I said, I have one chance to get this card, and I better do it now. Otherwise, I'm going to go home. That card's going to go away, and I'll never see it again. And someone else is going to own that card, and I'll be like kicking myself for not getting that card, just like I'm kicking myself for not picking up the Jack in 2018. I should have done it. And I knew it. And like the thing about it, I knew it. I knew going to that show, like Jackie Robinson cards are going to go nuts at some point. People are going to figure it out. And that's the most important one besides his rookie. And it's got the best eye appeal of any card almost in that whole set. So it's like no brainer. And I didn't do it. I didn't listen to my inner voice. I didn't pull the trigger when I should have. And I don't know why, and so, yeah, you got to sometimes just listen to yourself, go into that show and be like, I need to get this card. I need to get it now. Because if I don't get it now, I may not get a chance. In 2017, I did the same thing with a Clemente rookie. I had sold my Clemente rookie card. When I moved to New York, I was really sad because I had to sell it to pay for some of the moving. And so I was just kind of depressed. And I went to that show in 17, right after the prices kind of went way back down. I don't know if you guys remember in 2017, Hall of Fame rookie cards went through the roof. And now they crashed a little bit in 17 at the show I went to. The National is where I picked it up. But I remember the dealer I went to that had the card. And I said, how much do you want for it? And he's like, I paid $18,000 for this card. And I think at the time it was comping around 10 or 12. And the guy's like, I need 15,000 for this card. And I said, I probably can't do 15. So I think we got down to like 13.5, but still, like, the guy lost a lot of money on the card because he bought it when everything was going way up. And that's very similar to what's happening right now. There is going to be people stuck with cards that they paid too much for. And you got to hold them and wait for things to kind of correct, come back. Or for vintage, the good thing about vintage is that even when they go down in price, over time, they're like a stock market. They do rise over time. They don't really lose a lot of value. If you go back and look at VCP 5, 10, 15-year charts, you're not going to see a ton of good Hall of Fame players in their cards where they just keep going down and down. They just don't. They just don't. They pick a player. They may be flat, slight gain, but they're not losing value 5, 10, 15 year over year. So that's sort of what you got to look at when you're looking at why buy vintage over modern cards. Modern cards is a gamble. I talk about when I cross cards over to PSA, that's my form of gambling. Like everyone, they either open boxes, they do certain things. I buy SGC cards and then I pop them over to PSA, hoping to get a bump and taking that value difference and using that to buy other cards. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's my form of gambling. That's how I try to create value in my collection. And again, I've been successful. If you go back to my 46 card SGC video, you'll see where I was, I crossed over 73 Clemente from an SGC 88 to PSA 9. And that's still in my collection today. That can happen. But I also cross over a 62 Aaron 86 to a PSA 60C. Or sorry, 6MC. So, that really sucked. So yeah, it can go in the other direction harsh. So I don't recommend anyone to do that. Don't, unless you like to gamble, and it's a gamble. I mean, to me, it's funny, but if you go back and look at that video, there are some harsh realities in that video. And I will say this too, for anyone who watches the video later on, is, again, I said earlier, is I don't have an agenda here with SGC or CSG or PSA. It is what it is. My experiences grading cards with all the companies are what it is. I'm not trying to say SGC is better than this company or that company. I'm just sharing with you guys that when I crossed over cards from SGC to PSA, these are the things that happened. These are the grades I've lost or gained. And you can look at the cards. I've had people very upset with me about it, because it's like you're showing SGC is a bad grader, or you have an agenda. You're like, I had a guy actually accuse me of damaging the cards on purpose to cross them over to PSA to show that SGC was a bad grader. So that, that was tough, like for me, because it's just, why would I waste time doing that? What do I have to gain? I'm not sponsored by anyone. You think PSA is sponsoring me at all? I mean, come on. But it's just the level of delusion people have around this idea that they get so wrapped up in the companies, and the thing that is said the best, it's like, they all kind of suck in their own way. They all have issues and they all kind of suck in their own way. So, you got to just take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. Yeah. On the SGC 88, Jackie Robinson, that card to me, is just, again, I'll show it, is I just feel like, if I ever want to move this card, I might get it crossover. I might. I don't know. If I was doing something like liquidating my collection, if I was going to get out of cards, like if I wanted to retire, move somewhere, I would, I would do something like that to maximize my collection. Right now, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to do it. I just feel like it's such a good card, and if I was at a show with it right now, I would be like, I'm going to want the same price as a PSA, because I feel like that's what it is. I'm not going to give you an SGC discount. And so, I won't ever sell it or trade it by doing it that way, which is fine, because I don't really want to sell it or trade it. In fact, I never take it with me, because I feel like, the temptation to sell it would be too strong. I took the 53 Mantle with me to a show, and my gosh, the amount of people offering me crazy deals on that card instead of cash. Yeah. Oh, I understand, like some people don't like the SGC holder, and I get it, like in general, I'm a PSA guy in terms of my collection. If you look at my Clemente collection, it's 99% PSA. And I don't like, some things about SGC's holder. I've said this on my channel a little bit about T3 cards. I do love the T3 set, but every T3 card I've gotten from SGC, the card has slipped out underneath, the holder and underneath the insert. I was teasing Dustin, on his channel about SGC, or he was on with Neo the other night, and I told Dustin like, you're sponsored by SGC. Talk to them about their stupid inserts that they miscut or damage the cards or allow cards to go underneath them. Like that insert, they got to do something about it because that insert does damage cards. You can go on eBay, or sorry, eBay. You can go on YouTube. There's videos besides me because like they talk about how the inserts for SGC cards damage is because they don't cut them straight, or they have like jagged edges that damage the card. And when you pop it, the card's got a rough edge or has like got gouges in it, or creases from that insert. They need to figure out that they don't need to damage cards, by using that insert. So, but yeah, I think on that Jackie, that's definitely a card that I feel like a lot of people, will love in either holder. But yeah, I understand. Some people just don't like that. And believe me, when I go to shows, the PSA label is currency. That just is tough. Yeah. Yep. So it's funny you mentioned that about the card slipping out. So one of my grail cards that I'm going to look for but I'll never find, I'm looking for Cons Clemente cards. So now that I've got the basic top set and some of the Opeachis done, I'm looking for Cons Clementes. And so I was searching for Cons Clementes or just Cons cards, and I came across a 61 PSA 7 Frank Robinson. It's on eBay. You can Google it right now. 380 or look it at $380. I'm like, that's a crazy price for a PSA 7. Cons cards are super difficult. That's a really good price. I'm getting ready to buy the card right away. I open the image and the card has slid underneath the PSA holder, and you can see where they pressed it down on top of those the these little like I don't call rivets or whatever in the card and creased it. And they sent it to someone like that. And I don't know why the person didn't send it back to PSA, but go look on eBay right now if you want to just see a laugh. The 61 Cons PSA 7 Frank Robinson, where the card slid above out of the holder and got damaged by the PSA, and they never caught it, but it looks really funny. And it's like, wow. And because if you read the auction, the guy's like, you get, something like you get the exact card in the condition as shown. Like they're trying not to tell you like the card's damaged, because $380 for that card is super cheap. Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. That's a good point. Around that Jackie. Yeah. Um, and I think at some point, I think PS or SGC will have something different with their holder. I think they could offer two holders. You could pick which holder you want. You could pick the black tie holder or a different holder, but I think they need to come up with some different holders for different cards. They definitely are struggling a little bit when they on the bigger cards. For example, I think their big card holders are pretty subpar. I think their base card holders and their T card holders are okay. The bigger you get with SGC, the worse and worse their holder looks, and the worse and worse the insert keeps the card in place. Um, so, yeah, that card. Go look at that 61 Frank Robinson. I might do a little video on it just because it's so funny looking, but it just shows you like what's happening right now too. Like, I mentioned everything sucks, in terms of like all the companies that were having issues. Look at Thompson Fanatics right now and all the autograph issues they're having. It's a jungle out there, guys. I mean, honestly, you know, we're going through some pretty darn big growing pains right now as a hobby. You can tell that this supply chain issues, the pressures to to capitalize when the market was hot, has created a lot of issues for these companies, from backlog and grading to quality control issues. I mean, It's just all happening all at once. And I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I think some collectors are going to get fed up and quit, because it's just like a lot of stuff happening all at once. It's just, it feels like there's a lot of bad stuff all kind of coming out at once. I agree. Hey, where I work right now, we can't get raw materials for stuff, you know, we're on allocation for a lot of stuff. If we have orders for 1 million, we'll get allocated for like half of that from our supplier, right? That's where we're at. Every company is having those issues. Yeah, it is tough. And then with labor right now, you know, even if you have jobs, it's hard to find people. So it's just, yeah, there is a lot of problems. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not like saying like these issues are, these companies are, like, twirling their mustache trying to be evil on purpose. They just can't control it. They're either growing too fast or they just don't have the people and resources to deal with all the issues, and they're making a lot of mistakes, you know. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, right now I think we're in this huge growing pain as a hobby. And when I came on YouTube, it was really during this growth phase of the hobby. And I was shocked, in terms of when I got on YouTube, what people were, collecting and buying, the amount of money people were spending on cards, um and just kind of how, I mean, you go to card shows, um, and it's like kids were coming up with $5,000 and $10,000 cards. I remember the first time I got $1,000 card, I was like, $1,000. I was just like, that was a huge deal for me back in the day. And I'm like, I remember Jeff Wilson in one of his videos said something to the fact like, he's like, yeah, that card's only $2,000. It's not a big deal. It's just like $2,000 is still a big deal for me, in terms of card collecting. Yeah, Dwayne, I did the thing about the authentication. My issue with authentication was, and I think your case is a good example of the other side of the coin, that you got, um you know you got good resolution. My issue with, you know you know my issue with the eBay authentication was, why is it taking so long to authenticate a PSA slab? Why is it taking 18 days, to get a card from the time I pay to my door when it's already graded? And the person that's reviewing it is the one who graded it. It just feels like they don't have the process really figured out to be able to get cards authenticated and to you in a timely manner. Anyone who's dealt with shoes understands, because, I don't buy a ton of shoes, but I buy shoes for me, you know, for me, like, I'm not a shoe reseller guy. I just buy cool shoes. And 3 out of the 5 times I bought shoes on eBay using this program, either the shoes came damaged or it took like 2 months to get them to me. And I'm like, I don't really need sneakers, right now. But the idea that I could wait 2 months to get a card shipped to me when I got a show coming up, in football season, you do need to be able to get your cards in some timely manner for, if you're speculating on players. Like, you want to have, if a big game's coming up, you want to have the card to you in a certain time frame to try to time some sales. And if the wild card is you might get your card in 3 days or 20, well, how do you manage that if you are trying to flip cards and make some money in this marketplace? It just screws that up really bad. And that was my main point, was you've taken some of the economy of the marketplace and really just, you know, killed it with fire. Now, um, the idea of them fixing issues like Dwayne's got here, that makes sense. Like, that is a good use of this service, but they just got to make sure that they can guarantee, or at least make sure that it's not taking like 2 months to get you your materials, because taking 18 to 20 days to get you your card is just, it's just too long. They got to figure it out. They can't just hold things hostage because they don't have people. And the other thing too, the one thing that I pointed out the first time with this eBay authentication was this, that at some point, these guys who do fake cards, who make fakes, are going to figure out how to get them through this eBay authentication service, and you're going to get bad stuff because it's happening with shoes. If you go on shoes, you'll see I bought shoes and they're fake, and it went through the eBay authentication because they're not really that big of experts. They look at a few things. What the eBay guys will tell you is that they just match the photo to say that this is the card that was in the photo. But I'm not sure they have I know CSG is helping them, but again, do they have these guys doing fakes are really good. Do they really have the expertise to really tell you if that card's real or not, if it's raw? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, but we'll see if they can really sort out these fakes. Yeah, these authentication boxes. So I had a 55 Johnny Unitas rookie card stolen from me at my work where cards were being delivered. Somebody from the mailroom stole my card. And good thing we have cameras. So, it's just, the world kind of sucks, But yeah, it happens everywhere. But yeah, there was a funny article that came out where they caught a UPS or was a postal worker that had hundreds and hundreds of boxes that they've been stealing that were addressed to, I think, PSA. They figured out, because now when you get your boxes from PSA, have you guys noticed that you get a fake name on them? Like they don't like say it's from PSA. They say it's from some fake. It doesn't say from PSA. It says something completely different. Yeah, everything. That's the thing that sucks right now is and the things with. So the one thing that is going to happen in the industry again, and it always does in the hobby right now, is as soon as it tightens up in terms of making money in prices, the first thing that happens is to make money, people will start taking shortcuts. So the trimming, the fakes, the fake slab stuff will all come back around again big time as people take shortcuts to try to make money. And that's what we saw, when the market was flat, that the only way to make money was to buy a card and trim it, right? So if I bought a card and just graded it, the amount of value difference wasn't really tremendous, especially if it didn't come back a 10 or a 9.510 or whatever, black label, So the easiest way to ensure that you got your money was to trim it or do the, to doctor the card. Then all of a sudden, everything went up in value. So you really didn't need to do that. You could just buy a card, grade it, and sell it. Even if it came back at 9, you were okay. And so right now, when the market goes back to where it's 10 or bust for modern, or whatever for vintage, the people will come back. And that's the cyclical nature of this, is that when the market's down, the bad folks come back and start doing the stuff again, and it sucks. Yeah, I feel like one of the things that hopefully we get smarter about as collectors is, and I said it in one of my videos where I said, I got to be okay with grades below PSA 8, right, for vintage. And I was such a big card snob, I would not buy a card that was graded below an 8 forever. And that was one of my hangups around that Jackie Robinson, the reason why I didn't pull the trigger. I just, in my mind, I couldn't buy a 4. Brent, yeah. What's funny is, I've known Brent for a long time. He probably doesn't remember me, but I bought a lot of cards and sold Brent a lot of cards before he started PWCC. Really, when he was just a dealer. Brent was just a dealer. At one point, he didn't really have this big auction house. I mean, you had Mile High Cards was, to me, more, was a bigger dealer than PWCC at one point. Nobody, Mile High is still around, but he definitely isn't as big as PWCC, right? But at one point, Mile High and Memory Lane were more important than PWCC. It just shows you, sometimes whoever gets to the finish line, you know, the race is it's a marathon. Like right now, I'm actually really shocked that King Golden's where he's at. Honestly, I don't understand the King Golden thing. It's just mind boggling that as an industry we're okay that King Golden is our new maestro or maestro or whatever auction house. That how did that happen? That's a really funny thing for the hobby. We let literally the original card scammer become our biggest auction house. It does show sort of why the hobby is what the hobby is. The original card scammer guy becomes the number one, and he's gonna have a Netflix show. I'm just like, that's such the hobby. Like that's the hobby. you know yeah, I ripped Kobe off. I didn't pay him his money. I sold cards on Shop at Home that were basically worth nothing to old people who didn't know better. And now I'm like the card father, or whatever. And PSA bought Golden. Yeah, it's you can't make it up. I mean, if you were to like write the hobby story and say like things that should never happen in the story, this would be one of them. Like Ken Golden shouldn't be our golden god of the hobby and be the top dog, and he is. How the hell did that happen? Like it's like, all of a sudden, he's now the number one guy. I'm like, did we forget? Is there like mass hypnosis out there where we all just forget that he's the dude that like wrote Kobe Bryant a check missing a zero instead of paying him for his autograph? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just crazy that this is the guy, but it is what it is. I mean, I can't go out there. I mean, I have no power to fight a King Golden. I mean, I can just not use him. I don't even look at his auctions. Does anybody here you actually look at his auctions? I've never gone on his website to bid. I think I joined to just maybe get to be able to look at the auctions, but I don't even go on King Golden's auction house for anything. Like the only card I would buy on King Golden's auction is a 68 3D Clemente. If that was on Golden's auction, I would swallow my pride and try to buy it because I need that card. Like that's one of my few cards that's kind of the grail, but I would not buy just a regular card from King Golden. I'd just wait, buy it somewhere else, pay more money maybe, but of course this stuff brings, it's the old memory lane joke. Remember, memory lane was always like every card that sold in memory lane at one point broke a record. It's like what, like it would be like a dumb card to be like, oh, the 63 PSA 8 Frank Robinson just set a record in memory lane's auction. It sold for $2,000. You're like, it's like a $300 card. Why did it sell for $2,000? It's total memory lane. And then you find out the same card would be then relisted like 2 months later because they didn't pay for the auction. Well, it was fake. I mean, that was happening all the time, with memory lane. One thing, I mean, like, I don't know who's watchdogging King Golden, but keep an eye on King Golden for cards that keep reappearing in the auction over and over, same card, because that's showing either people aren't paying, or they're fake auctions. They're not actually selling the card for what it brought. And Memory Lane got caught doing that. In fact, Brent PWCC did this thing for a while where if the card didn't sell, or the bid was not a real bid, they would send it into PSA and get the cert number changed. Because there's people out there who did the photo matching, and so it'd be the same grade, same card, different cert number, and it was so that you couldn't track that card had sold and was now selling again. Stuff like that. If you really get into the hobby, it's just one of those things where those, the auction houses have always been super shady. I mean, they can bid on their own auctions. When I learned that, I didn't know that when I was a kid, bidding on auctions. I just thought auction houses were where you had to go to buy the big cards. But when I talked to JP at Memory Lane, and he told me like, yeah, like my employees can bid on my own auctions, I was just like, what? Like, that's a conflict of interest? And he's like, no, it's not. They're collectors too. It's like, what? You know what the bids are. Like, oh no. That part is kept secret. I'm like, really? I don't believe that. That's like PSA telling me one time, I was at a show and PSA told me that they never talk to dealers. Like the graders never talk to the dealers. And then I go to my buddy Kurt's table, and the dealer's sitting with Kurt, going through every card in his order and telling him why the grade is, and telling him like, what these raw cards might grade. Like they're literally sitting there talking to each other, and they're saying on PSAs, like, oh, our graders never talk to anyone. They're completely impartial. They don't have any contact with the buyers or with the dealers. When PSA came out with a 0.5 grade, I forget. I'm trying to think of the name of the big time dealer or collector. I was on the registry. Gosh, I can't think of his name. He's embedded with Mike Baker now, so he has all his slabs graded by Mike Baker. Gosh, he was at the Atlanta show. But anyway, PSA flew to his house and graded the cards on site at his house for 0.5 bumps because they wanted, to do that, to advertise their 0.5 grading. They flew a grader to his house and graded cards directly with him. Like, okay, that's a service. No one's got that service that I know of, for a grader to come to your house. So PSA has always been a little bit like that. They definitely cater to their big time, collectors, and keep them happy. Back then, I mean, you gotta remember back then, the money wasn't there like it is today. They really had to keep that set registry going and keep those guys happy. And I think Marshall Fogel was the guy I'm thinking of. I think it was him. It was one of those big set registry guys. They went to his house. They offered. They were offering to for him to like send his cards in for free. Like just ship them there, and they pay for shipping, and they would, review them for free. All this stuff because the half grade really, yeah, David Hall. The half grade really pissed a lot of people off because it devalued the 8. And the collectors basically told PSA that never come out with a 9.5 because so much money on the registry was spent on 9s, vintage 9s, that they basically say if you came out with a 9.5, you're going to lose everyone that is on the registry that's paid all this money for a 9. To have the 9.5 come back and trump their because it's all about numbers, right? If you go to the registry, like, it's all about math. It's like the 9's higher than the 8, and the 9.5 would be now worth more than the 9. I paid $50,000 for a 9. Now someone gets a 9.5, and now they have the highest card in the registry. It's like it's competing over like like those guys are competing over something that's worth nothing. But they do. I mean, it's very competitive. If you know registry guys, the hardcore ones, they're crazy on how they fight for those cards. And I love the registry. I'm on the registry for a lot of my Clemente collection, but my gosh, when a card comes up that the registry guys need, it's a bloodbath. They will go toe to toe looking for those cards. And dealers love it. I mean, to dealers, it's great because they sell cards, they make money. So hey guys, I'm going to wind it down. I got to go to bed. It's a little late here, but I appreciate you guys being here for the 2-year anniversary. Hopefully you like the grades and the conversation. I'm going to reach out and try to get some folks on for my next live. I got a few folks who have graciously offered to come on. And, when that happens, I'll give you guys another heads up and we'll go from there. But I really appreciate it. And it's been great I appreciate all the conversation, Mike, Tom, Dwayne. You guys were great. You know, everyone who came on, love it. And we'll see you next time. And, you know, I'll do probably 1 or 2 more videos for the national, and then we'll go there, man. Anyone go to the national, please leave a comment about it. And I definitely want to hit you up. And hey, if you got cards you want to trade, sell, whatever, hit me up too. I'll do that. All right, guys. Thank you. And we'll see you next time. Cards and Comics. Bye.